Intermittent Fasting for Quick Weight Loss, the complete guide. What if the secret to burning fat has nothing to do with what you eat and everything to do with when you eat? Stop right there. Before you dismiss this as just another diet trend, give me 60 seconds to explain why intermittent fasting is the most powerful weight loss tool you're not using, and why it works when everything else has failed. This isn't about starving yourself. This isn't about counting calories. This is about understanding the two hormones that control whether you store fat or burn it, and how to manipulate them in your favor, starting today. Let's get one thing straight right from the beginning. Intermittent fasting is not a diet. It doesn't tell you what foods to eat or what foods to avoid. It's a pattern, a rhythm of eating and not eating that transforms your body's hormonal environment from fat storage mode to fat burning mode. Most people fail at weight loss because they focus entirely on what they're eating while completely ignoring when they're eating. They count calories, measure portions, eliminate entire food groups, and still can't lose weight. Why? Because they're eating all day long, constantly spiking the one hormone that makes fat loss impossible. That hormone is insulin. Let me explain how insulin works, because once you understand this, everything about weight loss will suddenly make sense. Every single time you eat anything, and I mean anything, even a healthy snack, even a piece of fruit, even a handful of nuts, your body releases insulin. Most people think only carbohydrates and sugar trigger insulin, but that's wrong. Protein triggers insulin. Fat triggers it less, but eating in general causes insulin release. And here's the critical part you need to understand. In the presence of insulin, you cannot burn fat. It's biochemically impossible. Insulin is a storage hormone. Its job is to take the energy from your food and store it. When insulin is elevated, your body is in storage mode, not burning mode. It doesn't matter if you're exercising. It doesn't matter if you're eating healthy foods. If insulin is constantly elevated throughout the day, you will not lose weight. This is why people who eat 6 small meals a day, even healthy meals, struggle to lose fat. They're constantly spiking insulin, keeping their body locked in storage mode from morning until night. Now let's talk about the other hormone, the one that actually burns fat. Growth hormone. This is your body's most powerful fat-burning hormone. It preserves muscle mass while specifically targeting fat stores for energy. It's also anti-aging, helping you maintain lean body mass and vitality as you get older. But here's the problem. Growth hormone and insulin are opposites. When insulin is high, growth hormone is suppressed. When insulin is low, growth hormone rises. You cannot have both elevated at the same time. This is why the timing of your meals is more important than the content of your meals. Most people are living with chronically elevated insulin levels, and they don't even know it. They wake up and eat breakfast immediately, spiking insulin. They have a mid-morning snack, spiking insulin again. They eat lunch, another insulin spike. Afternoon snack, evening dinner, maybe a late-night snack. They're triggering insulin releases 6, 7, 8 times per day. Their insulin never gets a chance to drop, which means their growth hormone never gets a chance to rise, which means their body never switches into fat-burning mode. But it gets worse. When you constantly bombard your cells with insulin day after day, year after year, they start developing resistance. Your cells essentially put up walls and refuse to respond to insulin's signal. This is called insulin resistance, and it's the foundation of weight gain, diabetes, and metabolic disease. Your pancreas detects that insulin isn't working, so it makes more. 5 times more, 7 times more. You end up with massive amounts of insulin flooding your system, trying to force your resistant cells to respond. This creates a horrible situation. Your cells are starving for glucose because insulin can't get it inside, but you have dangerously high insulin levels in your bloodstream, causing inflammation, fat storage, and damage throughout your body. You're hungry all the time because your cells aren't getting fed. But every time you eat, you make the problem worse by spiking insulin even higher. It's a vicious cycle that traditional dieting cannot break, because traditional dieting still involves eating multiple times per day. Intermittent fasting breaks this cycle. By extending the time between your last meal and your first meal, you give insulin time to drop to baseline levels. When insulin drops, growth hormone rises. Your body finally switches from storage mode to burning mode. You start accessing your fat stores for energy. You begin healing insulin resistance because you're giving your cells a break from constant insulin bombardment. This is not starvation. This is working with your body's natural hormonal rhythms instead of fighting against them. Let me break down exactly how to implement this, because there are different levels of intermittent fasting, and you need to start where you are right now and gradually progress. If you're currently eating 5 or 6 times per day with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between, you're spiking insulin constantly. Your first goal is to eliminate snacking and move to 3 meals per day. Just this simple change will dramatically reduce your insulin exposure. The key to going from one meal to the next without being hungry is increasing the fat content of your meals. Fat is the most satiating macronutrient and triggers the least insulin response. When you eat enough fat with your meals, you can easily go 4 to 5 hours without hunger because your blood sugar stays stable and you're not experiencing the crash that comes from high-carb, high-insulin meals. Don't be afraid of fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Insulin makes you fat, and fat is the macronutrient that triggers the least insulin. Once you're comfortable with 3 meals per day and no snacking, you can progress to a 16-8 pattern. This means 16 hours of fasting with an 8-hour eating window. The most effective way to do this is to skip breakfast and eat your first meal later in the morning or at midday. Let's say you wake up at 6 in the morning. Instead of eating immediately, wait until at least 10 o'clock for your first meal. Then eat your second meal around 2 and your third meal around 6 in the evening. This gives you an 8-hour eating window from 10 in the morning to 6 at night. Why is this pattern so powerful? Because the real fat-burning magic happens during sleep and in the morning hours after you wake up. When you sleep, you're naturally fasting, and after several hours of sleep, your insulin has dropped and growth hormone has risen. If you immediately eat breakfast when you wake up, you shut down this fat-burning state. But if you extend that fasting period for another 4 to 6 hours into the morning, you give your body uninterrupted time to burn fat. Think about it. You finish dinner at 6 in the evening, you go to bed at 10, you sleep for 8 hours, you wake up at 6. If you don't eat until 10 in the morning, that's 16 consecutive hours without food, 16 hours of low insulin and high growth hormone, 16 hours of fat burning. This is when the transformation happens. Not from the 3 hours between lunch and dinner, but from the long overnight and morning fast. If you want to take fat burning to an even higher level, you can progress to a 24 pattern. 20 hours of fasting with a 4-hour eating window and only 2 meals. This might sound extreme, but once your body adapts to burning fat for fuel instead of constantly relying on incoming food, this becomes surprisingly easy. You might eat your first meal at noon or 1 in the afternoon, then eat your second meal 4 hours later around 4 or 5. Then you're done eating for the day. What this does to your waistline is remarkable. Think about it. 20 consecutive hours where insulin is at baseline and growth hormone is maximized. 20 hours where your body is pulling energy from your fat stores instead of from incoming food. If you combine this eating pattern with high-intensity interval training, the fat loss becomes almost ridiculous. You're creating the perfect hormonal environment for burning fat while preserving muscle. Now, I need to be realistic with you about the timeline. You're not going to jump from eating 6 times per day to doing a 24 pattern overnight. This is a gradual progression that might take months, and that's completely fine. If you've destroyed your metabolism with years of dieting, especially extreme low-calorie diets, your body needs time to heal and adapt. Moving from 6 meals to 3 meals might take you a few weeks. Getting comfortable with the 16-8 pattern might take a month or 2. Progressing to 24 could take 3 to 6 months or longer. The key is to move at a pace where you feel good. You shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't be experiencing headaches, intense hunger, or feeling weak between meals. If you are, you're pushing too hard too fast. Pull back, stabilize at your current level, make sure you're eating enough fat with your meals, and then try progressing again when your body is ready. This isn't a race. This is a sustainable lifestyle change that will serve you for the rest of your life. Let me address the biggest fear people have about fasting. They worry they'll be hungry, weak, unable to function. But here's what actually happens. For the first few days or weeks, you might experience some hunger as your body adjusts. But once you become fat adapted, Once your body learns to efficiently burn fat for fuel, the hunger disappears. You'll have stable energy throughout the day without needing constant food. You'll feel mentally sharp and focused during your fasting hours. Many people report feeling better during fasting periods than they do after eating. This is because when you're running on stored fat and ketones instead of incoming sugar, you avoid the blood sugar spikes and crashes that create that tired, foggy feeling after meals. Your energy becomes stable and sustained. Your mental clarity improves. Your mood stabilizes. You're no longer a slave to constant eating and snacking. You have freedom. The benefits extend far beyond weight loss. Intermittent fasting improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, supports cellular repair through a process called autophagy, improves brain function, and may even extend lifespan. You're not just losing weight. You're fundamentally improving your metabolic health and giving your body the conditions it needs to heal and thrive. So here's your action plan. Assess where you are right now. How many times per day are you eating? Start by eliminating snacks and moving to 3 solid meals. Increase the fat content of those meals so you can go from one meal to the next without hunger. Once that feels comfortable, start extending the time before your first meal. Push breakfast back an hour, then 2 hours, then skip it entirely and eat your first meal at midday. Track how you feel. Notice your energy levels, your mental clarity, your hunger signals. Watch your waistline change. Measure your progress not just by the scale but by how your clothes fit, how you feel, how much better you're sleeping. Give your body time to adapt. Be patient with the process. The results will come. Comment below and tell me where you're starting from and what your goal is. Are you currently eating 6 times per day? Are you ready to try 3 meals with no snacks? Have you already been experimenting with intermittent fasting? Share your experience. Subscribe for more content that explains the science behind fat loss and metabolic health. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video, where I'll cover exactly what to eat during your eating window to maximize fat burning. Your transformation starts with understanding your hormones. Now you understand. It's time to take action.